Welcome back to Home Theater Hobby. So I've taken a little bit of a break, and this is going to be my first video coming back. And some of the reason for that is the channel had kind of evolved into something that I did not want it to evolve into. So I went back and I kind of took all the videos off and just went back and added just the ones that kind of went along with what the channel was meant to represent. There still might be a movie review here or there, but mainly it's about the hobby of home theater itself. So in this little short video, I'm going to talk about a few things that I've done over the holiday season. I've taken some vacation time and kind of dedicated some time into my home theater. And I hope you find this informative, and I did learn a few things. Okay, so the biggest upgrade that I've made over the holiday season was I got rid of my separate system to an extent, and I'll explain that when I talk about some products and things that I've learned. So I had a Marantz Pre-Pro, and it was the 7703, and I mean, it was good, and I had an old video that I had actually pulled off a few years ago talking about when I had first upgraded to it and some of the things that I found out about it. And overall, I was generally happy with the performance, but I just never felt like I got what I wanted out of it. And what I mean by that is the soundstage just always felt like it stayed in the front of the room. It didn't feel like it kind of came out everywhere else. Now, the exception to this was certain Atmos and DTS-X mixes in particular movies, like Alita Battle Angel was one where the overheads, there was a lot of action there, but still the surrounds just really never, I always felt like I was missing something, and I was not sure what it was. And I had ran the audio calibration several times over and over and over, and there was just always something lacking. Kind of to offset some of that, because I'd done some reading and watched some videos. Youthman is one of the guys that I watch a lot of his videos. I really enjoy them, and also Spare Change. And one of the things that they talked about was the bass performance. So I was like, maybe this will fix it. And to an extent, by getting in with some of the settings, I was able to kind of offset that. And then the other thing I started to think about was maybe I'm just missing something, but I wasn't sure what it was. And I've wanted to upgrade for a while, but I couldn't find that one particular product that kind of stood out to me. I've read a lot about Arcam through the years, and Arcam is a mixed bag out there, but I was always kind of, if I could get a good deal on one of their AVRs, I was like, you know, I want to pick one up and try to see what I can do with that. So I happened to, in one of our local shops, I saw the AVR 390 advertised for $14.99, and I wanted to just go take a look at it. That was the lowest price that I'd seen them advertised for locally. I knew that there was some price drops that were coming whenever they released their new line. I think they're like AV10, AV20, AV30 maybe, or their newer line, which have a different display and everything. You can look that up online. But when I went to the store to go check this out, they actually had 3 left in stock, and they were just clearancing them out brand new, and for $9.99. So I looked at it and I was like, okay, I get the fact that I have not had an AVR in 10 years, and I also understand that this is saying it's an AV amplifier, or an AB class amplifier, 60 watts a channel, all channels driven. And my separate system was a true 150 watts, all channels driven AB. And so I was really conflicted about that. And so I wasn't sure that I wanted to take that step. But I was looking at, for $1,000, I was sure that I could sell my my AV or my pre-pro that I had, the 7703, for at least $500 is what I was thinking. So I was like, if I can get this for $500 and I'm not happy with it, that's a low investment overall. And so that's what I did. And so I got it, and I hooked everything up. I took the separate system now, and I was like, I'm gonna just run this thing and see what it looks like. So I'm gonna take a quick break for anybody that doesn't want to follow a long video explanation of what's going on here, and just show you a couple pictures of what the setup looks like now. So I got everything set up, installed, and I was just running. I had a separate Emotiva 5-channel amplifier for my ceiling speakers, my 4 ceiling speakers. I'm only using 4 channels there. But all the rest of the 7 speakers were all coming from the AVR 390, the Arcam. I did not run the Dirac room calibration software or anything. I just wanted to hook everything up and just take a look and get some general thoughts about the sound. Now, I will say, coming from the Marantz, the setup menus were a somewhat of a challenge, and you have to go in and manually turn everything on. You have to select your speakers, which ones you're going to be using. There is not an easy way to do it. That was one of the challenges that I had. I was kind of expecting this, so I was not. It was not a bad thing for me in the sense of I was prepared for frustration, if you will. And so I got in and I turned everything on. I did have 2 of my height speakers crossed incorrectly. So I just got back under there and switched the RCA cable going to that external amplifier for those ceiling speakers, and was able to get that taken care of fairly easily. But with no calibration, nothing done whatsoever, I put in a few disc, and I'm running a Panasonic UV9000 for my my player, and I also have an Apple TV connected, and I just wanted to get a general idea. So here are the main things that kind of jumped out to me and stood out on the onset. And that is, I have never been a fan of streaming from the standpoint of, it's not the picture quality that's bothered me, but the sound quality, I've never really cared for it. I've always felt like it was empty is the word that I would use. I was shocked, and that's the word that I want to use here. I was totally shocked at a uncalibrated system. I could hear everything, and the first thing that I played did not even have an Atmos or a DTS-X soundtrack, so I put it in DTS-X neutral, and you could hear everything. I could hear sound everywhere. So that was the first thing that stood out to me, is a streamed show on the Apple TV. I could hear sound from every speaker, and not only could I hear sound from every speaker, but there was a presence of power at the front of the room that kind of, instead of staying at the front of the room, that seemed to traditionally happen with the Marantz, I felt like it moved through the room. And what I mean by that is some of the scenes that I played had planes that moved throughout the image, and as the plane moved beyond us, it was like you could feel it moving from the front of the room to the middle of the room, and then exiting the back of the room. And with no calibrations or anything complete, this really shocked me, because it was a experience I was not expecting. And my expectations were, Arcam is a brand that's well known for sound quality. So my expectations were that I was going to be impressed. I just was not expecting to be impressed like this out of the box, just to hook everything up. And then the next test that I do, and it is the test that I normally do because I'm so familiar with the soundtrack of this, is I used the scene from the original Jurassic Park where the T-Rex enters the scene. And I did this on disc, but then I compared it to the streaming as well, just to kind of get a general idea of differences there. But I put this on the disc, and it's a new Atmos mix, which is a little bit different than the traditional soundtrack that we're used to in the past. And what really just shocked me was number one, the overheads when the lamb comes and hits the top of the ceiling. You could hear the falling of the lamb at first, and then you got that impact, that deep impact that just hits you in the chest. And then when the T-Rex starts to grumble and growl and everything, even before his footsteps start to take the pitter-patter across the screen, it was really impressive. And again, this was without any calibration whatsoever done. So right out of the gate, I was really impressed with this. And these were at mid volumes. So their AB amplification at 60 watts a channel was very impressive to me. And I was not expecting that in this room. I felt like my speakers came alive for the first time since I've had them. And these are older Bowers and Wilkins speakers. I've had these speakers for about 15 years now. But where I've went back and forth with thinking about replacing the speakers, this was the first time that I thought, wow, I don't have to replace these speakers, because this upgrade has totally changed the way that this sounds. So by selling my old processor and by selling my old amplifier, I had an old Shearborn amplifier, which was a 7-channel, 150 watts per channel amplifier. I actually had enough money out of selling both of those that I went ahead and placed an order for a Emotiva XPA 3 to drive the front 3 channels. And my response was, if I don't like this, I'm just going to box it up and send it back. From everything that I read that the way that they do, as far as Emotiva in this Gen 3, the way that they do the amplification is it's AB to an extent, but it operates much like the Class G that Arcam does in their amplifiers. So I was like, hey, I have enough money left over from selling this that it's not really an out-of-pocket upgrade for me just to test it out. If I don't, and I didn't, it wasn't that I felt like I needed it, but I was like, I have the funds left over from selling this other equipment. This is not a huge cost outside of the upgrade, so I'll place the order and see how it happens, see how that works. And not only that, but the Arcam AV390 has the outputs to go to an external amplifier. So I placed the order for that and installed it, and again, without running any calibration whatsoever, have the first 3 channels and played a couple tracks again. Now, I don't know the internals of the Arcam AV390 as far as the way that they distribute the sound. I think that it's locked out at the way that their software works, that you're only getting that 60 watts per channel. So I think that I'm taking stress off of the power supply, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't think that I'm picking up anything in these channels here. But now I'm only driving 4 back channels from that, and then I have the 3 channels that are divided on this Emotiva, which is 275 watts a channel, and the amplification works much like the Arcam external amplifiers from what I've read, even though Emotiva's is different, or it's called something different. And again, what I noticed is just a large scale pickup in the impact in the bass performance of the speakers alone that I was not expecting. So without any calibrations whatsoever, this has just totally changed the sound in the room. Now, with that being said, this is not Marantz is not a good product type video, but it is a more or less an eye-opening experience for me, in the sense of, for 20 years, I was Marantz, and I would not really give other products much of a listen. So what I've realized through this is, maybe it's worth listening to some of these other products. Maybe it's worth demoing some of these other products in your home to find out what's right for you. And you know what? Maybe there is another product that I might even like better than this Arcam at this point. I'm not, especially because this was the most recent upgrade, that's not something that I'm going to be in the market for anytime soon, because I'm very pleased with how this sounds. But I would say that maybe in this hobby, it would be a benefit for all of us to kind of take a look at the brands and be willing to be more open to taking a listen. Now, lastly, because I know that this is a long video, and not everybody's going to listen to the whole video start to finish, right? But if you've made it this far along, I would say this, and I'll try to do some shorter videos comparing these products, especially the Emotiva alone, the Arcam alone. But lastly, the thing that really kind of jumps out to me is I've ran the direct room correction a few times now, and I have a new microphone on order that I'm going to calibrate with as well. And I'm getting mixed results with that, to be honest. What I'm finding is disc content that are ran from the Panasonic player with Dirac turned on is an unbelievable experience. I am beyond pleased with that. But I'm finding that in streaming media, there seems to be, I seem to prefer the sound with Dirac turned off. So I haven't figured out if maybe I'm just doing something wrong in the calibrations itself, because this is new to me, or if there is just something totally different that maybe I need to have a different calibration for each of those types of content. So I'm still walking through that. The other thing that I've noticed in regards to that as well is that this is not plug and play like I have been used to in the past, like with Marantz products. Meaning you're not going to get this big on-screen display to where you can just walk through and easily make any corrections. I would say that as much as I love the sound of the Arcam AV390 at this point, the setup and the tweaking that you have to go in and work on internally, it is challenging. The directions that come with the product, the book is like this thick, and it is a lot. You almost feel like you need an engineering degree to work on this, like a sound engineering degree to work on this. So I wasn't prepared for that. I've even debated on having a professional engineer come in and run the calibrations of the software for me. I happen to know one that would probably give me a pretty good deal on that. So I may do that in the near future. But that is something I think that people should consider. And I've also noticed that in some forums that a lot of the people that seem to not like the Arcam brand seem to be really, a lot of the dialogue or the conversation seems to be around it not being user-friendly. So I think that may be the trade-off that you have to look at if you're looking at this particular product or possibly some of their other products. And again, I'm not familiar with their entire product lineup. This is new to me as well, but it's not going to be as user-friendly as things that you're used to, and that's been the challenge for me. But again, at the price point that I got into and what I've found with this so far, I have been very, very pleased with the performance. And although I still need some to make some tweaks to it, to fine tune it and get it just right, I have been very pleased with this. And I will say that when it is time to upgrade, again, when the surround formats change and all that kind of good stuff, I would definitely demo their future products again with some other products, because that's the other thing too. The key takeaway for me was I'll be more open to demo other products before I just make up my mind, because this has been eye-opening for me in that sense. Because the sound is night and day for me. And again, that's going to be different for everyone. I think that sound is very subjective. But for me, this has been definitely a night and day difference in experience. And that's coming from a very long-term Marantz user. And I'm still having to get used to some of the features and everything. The other thing, too, when it comes to sound, is I've been able to hear some of the IMAX soundtracks now. And the IMAX soundtracks are just amazing. Now, I don't have the ability to test the picture quality, so I don't know about all that. But the DTX-X IMAX container is just wild. I've tested it with the one that really blew my mind, and it's a kid's movie, but Angry Birds 2. I've tested it with that, and it was wild how wonderful it was. And then there was a space documentary that I watched with it as well. And I can't wait to see more IMAX enhanced disc come out because of that. It was just, what an experience, what a sound experience. And so there's other products that have this, so I'm sure that they sound great too. That's not to say that that's unique to Arcam, because I don't think it is. But for me, getting to have that experience for the first time has been really neat. But overall, I'm very, very pleased with the upgrade and at that price point. So I'm going to start following this brand a little bit more. Again, I understand that they release, their products every 4 to 5 years, and their first 2 to 3 years, they go through so many firmware updates that a lot of people don't want to hang out with them through the firmware update processes. But I hear so much about the sound quality. That seems to be what people really like about them. Some of the complaints that you hear has to do with the power output to external amplifiers. And again, I'm not a sound engineer, so I don't understand all of that. I do think that the sound that I hear, or that I'm experiencing so far, has been great. Updates to follow. But anyway, if you have any comments that you have, any questions, just put them in the comments. I try to respond when I can. I know that I've fallen behind on that as I've tried to figure out what to do with this channel. And thanks for being a part of it.